Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, welcome, my name is Charlotte. Today I'm going to be doing a video which is both gonna maybe cause controversy because I'm gonna be saying bad opinions about maybe some people's favourite books, but also I'm very excited to rant about books that I don't like. So today I am going to be talking about all the books ever that I have DNF'd. When I say ever, it sounds as if there's gonna be a lot, but I think there's about 13. These are kind of all the books I've DNF'd ever since 2015. I have 3 of the books physically, but the other 10 obviously I don't have with me because I get rid of most of the books I DNF. I'm just gonna start at the bottom of the list. If it's not in chronological order, I apologise. So the first book that I DNF'd was Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I had this book because I think I got it from like my grandparents or something like a few years ago. I think it must have been after I watched War and Peace, the TV show War and Peace, and I loved that TV show so much. It's the one with like Lily James and Paul Dano, and I loved it. I love that TV show so much, and I was not like, oh my god, now I want to read every Tolstoy book ever, I'm going to be able to read every Tolstoy book ever. But I tried because I had a copy of Anna Karenina. I thought, why not try it? I don't actually know how far I got into it, and it won't tell me on here, but I think I might have got like 50 pages in. I actually don't remember. I didn't actually like write a review or anything like that. I tried and it didn't happen, so I DNF'd it. I think I enjoyed what I was reading and I was understanding what was happening, but at the same time I was just like, I can't do this. I think I gave it to my mum because she's been reading War and Peace for years now, like on her iPad. It's one of those books I feel like I can be okay with the fact that I DNF'd it because it's Tolstoy. And the next book, which I feel like is a little bit controversial because it's highly rated and a lot of people love it, and I didn't. I read a majority of it, but I just got near the end and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I have wanted to read this. I got this for Christmas one year because I wanted to read it because I knew there was a film coming out. I got round to reading it. I think I was in like a mini slump, or not like a mini slump, I just wasn't that motivated to read it at the time I was reading it. There were still times I was like, I really want to pick it up, I really want to read it. Like I was really wanting to read it because I knew everybody loved it and I just wanted to read it. I just felt like I just didn't connect. I didn't care for any of the characters. I just didn't care for the story. I didn't care where it went. I was just reading it and it just felt really bland and boring. Maybe because I was coming out of that love and that phase of like dystopian, YA dystopian, and it was obviously post all the dystopian books and films and stuff like that. I just wasn't feeling it, and I just felt like I was rereading something that I've already read before. I literally said in my Goodreads thing, I had to DNF this, I couldn't continue, it's taken me ages to get this far and I just don't care for it. I gave it like a 2-star, which is probably generous because I DNF'd it. I just couldn't get through it. Like I probably could have, if I really pushed myself, I probably could have got to the end and then just gone, nah, I'm not gonna read the rest of the series. But I just got to a point in the book where I feel like I was meant to care about the characters and I was meant to care what happened to them or what's going to happen to them, and I didn't. Sorry if you love that series because I know a lot of people do. The next book is a book that I had to read for going into college, into kind of doing my A-levels. I studied English language at A-level, and it was a book that they suggested that we read because it's a lot to do with the beginnings of the English language, and it's called The Mother Tongue, English and How It Got That Way by Bill Bryson. Bill Bryson's a very popular and very well-known kind of non-fiction, educational book writer. This was a required reading. I started really liking it because I liked how it was very informative. It was very, you know, you learnt a lot from it, and I liked the style. It was still quite a dense style, writing style. I just felt that the further I got into it, I got more and more bored by the writing style and by what he was trying to say and everything he was teaching us. It was felt really repetitive. Even though I was meant to read it for school and college, I didn't, and not like it affected my grades. I still did good in that course. It was just, they just wanted you to read it just for context. In my Goodreads review, I said, I'm not going to lie, I didn't finish this book. Didn't even get halfway. It was good in the beginning, but after a while, it just got repetitive in the way he wrote it, which made it increasingly boring. I think I was reading it for like 3 days. I was enjoying it. It just got a bit repetitive. After a while, I just didn't care about the origins of some English words. The next book I read was, I think I put this down to the fact that I read it probably when I was a bit too young. It is an adult book. It's an adult kind of contemporary women's kind of fiction sort of book. I read it because I heard like one YouTuber talk about, because this is like my early days of watching BookTube. I read it because, you know, one BookTuber mentioned it and I just saw it in a bookshop and picked it up and tried to read it, and recently been made into a film, but I just don't care enough to want to pick up the book again. I might watch the film at some point in my life, and that is Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. I read this in 2016, that's according to my Goodreads. Again, I think because it was more adult fiction, or is adult fiction, I just found it boring and I just didn't really understand where it was going to go, and here's my review of it. This is a half read review. I love how back in the day I had to say, maybe because I didn't have a DNF shelf or like a section, so I kind of had to say. There are two reasons why I didn't finish this book. One, I've been in a major reading slump after finishing City of Heavenly Fire and was not reading that much, so didn't get into the book that much. I enjoyed what I read, just kind of felt like it dragged on a bit. I think it's more down to me, my age, and you know, the genre that it is, the kind of adult fiction that it is, and also because I did just finish reading City of Heavenly Fire, which is a big book and was, you know, a finale of a series I loved, so I was just very much probably in a book hangover. Second reason, me, being the book lover I am, stupidly decided to take this book with me to a party and ended up getting vodka on it, so it is in a slightly unreadable state. However, I will probably try and reread this book in the future, which is a lie, because I don't care. I haven't done it since and I don't want to do it. I think I was reading this for a couple of weeks and it just dragged and I just didn't care. It is about a woman who just suddenly ups and leaves or just disappears when she's got this like family, she's got a husband and she's got a daughter, and she just kind of leaves. The next book on this list is a kind of classic, like a children's classic that I tried to read I think in my first term of university, of first year, and that is Holmes by Louis Sasha. When I was reading it, I felt like I did enjoy it and I was really intrigued with the concept, because even though Holmes is very popular from both the book and the film, I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't a film that I'd watched growing up. I never heard about what it was about, so I was very intrigued while reading it about what was going to happen and what is happening. Around that time, my first term of uni, I was very much in a reading slump. I think because just before I went to university, I went on holiday and I didn't actually read that much because it was like a girls trip, touristy holiday, so I barely read that much, which put me into a reading slump. And then going to uni for the first time ever and leaving home was just very jarring and very shaking up my life, so I wasn't motivated to read. I was more focused on staying sane and trying to stay alive. So I was in a massive reading slump for the end of 2017, and I think this was one of the books that I tried to read because it was small and I knew it was a kind of a children's book. I thought, oh, this book is perfect, this book will help me, you know, get out of a reading slump or something like that. I even tried to read like Harry Potter and that didn't really help my reading slump. I can't remember exactly if there was another reason to do with the actual book as to why I DNF'd it, but I think the main reason is because I was in a reading slump. I did get rid of the book, so I can't, you know, suddenly pick it up now. Maybe in the future, because I found it in a charity shop, so it's probably quite easy to find in a charity shop again. Maybe in the future, if I do want to reread it, I might. But at this point, if I want to revisit the story, I want to really know what the story is about and, you know, find out what happens, I will probably watch the film. And it's got Shia LaBeouf in it, so Shia LaBeouf really interests me because it's got like 800,000 ratings on Goodreads. It's a very popular book, like everybody knows this book and kind of the story. The next book on this list is a book that I really wanted to enjoy. I read this last year. I think Brit from Basically Brit recently has read this series and really loved this series, and when I've been hearing her loving it, I'm just saying like I didn't love it and I feel really bad that I didn't love it. And that is Sleeping Giants by Sylvian Nouvelle. It is the first book in the Themis Files series, and it is a book that is kind of set in interview kind of format about a girl or a woman who when she was younger kind of like fell into a weird not prosthetic but like alien sort of hand, or like extraterrestrial hand, like a massive hand. Now she's older and is some sort of like scientist and is trying to work out what these things are that kind of popped up everywhere. I think at first I really did enjoy it, but maybe it could have been because I was in some sort of slump, I can't remember, but I just got to a point where it was a chore to read and I was really bored. My review says, when I started this book I was a bit confused about what was going on, but it didn't take me long to understand. You know, at least at first I was a bit confused, but I did kind of get over it. When I was nearing halfway through, I realised how little I was interested and how little the story was keeping my attention, hence the reason I decided to DNF this. I liked it, I just didn't really care that much about what was going on. I think that's a lot of the reasons why I DNF a lot of books, is because I'll start really enjoying the book, maybe because of what's going on around me and just my mindset, I'll just start to not care. I unfortunately am just one of those people where if I'm not engaged straight away, I can't read the book. That's why I don't read a lot of classics, and I'll get onto that later. I'm also one of those people who doesn't have a lot of favourite books. It takes a lot for a book to be my favourite book and for me to rate a book 5 stars. So if for like a few pages or for like 25 to 50 pages I start to not care about characters and care about the plot, I can't read it. It is a chore for me to read. It is unfortunate that I can't connect that much or easily to books sometimes, and to characters and books and plots. I do now just remember not caring about anything and not really understanding what was going on. I just wasn't really interested in continuing it. The next book on this list is Zenith by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This is a very recent DNF. I DNF'd this in September. I've had this book for a while and have been meaning to pick it up for a while, for a hot second, because obviously it is written by a booktuber, and I wanted to get around to trying to read it just to see how it is, but obviously I know that it is very mixed reviews, a lot of negative reviews, but I still wanted to pick it up and still wanted to see what it was like, and I went in with low expectations. I DNF'd it after 50 pages because I didn't connect or engage with anything. 50 pages in and I felt like I didn't know these characters at all. I couldn't even tell them apart, and I think because I expected to not like it, I think my mindset was like, you're not gonna like it no matter what, which is kind of kind of annoying. My review for it says, I really couldn't say what it is about this book that I don't like, but I was finding it a task to even read one page. I wasn't engaging with the characters and the plot, and it all just fell a bit flat. I will keep hold of the book, and maybe in the future I will revisit it, but for now I'm going to have to DNF it. And that is true. I am going to keep the book because I feel like maybe when I can put aside more time to really properly read it and hopefully engage with it, I will and I want to. That's the problem with a lot of books I read, or DNF at least, it is because I just don't engage and just don't care and just don't feel connected to the story or the characters. Even though you do get told about some of these characters, especially, you know, these kind of girl gang of pirates, I just felt like I didn't care and didn't know them and just couldn't distinguish them. I had to DNF it, but maybe hopefully one day I will revisit it. The next book on this list is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, which once again I feel like a lot of people love, but I didn't. I did at first. I think the first half of the book, or maybe just a bit under half of the book, I really did enjoy. I think I read this last year, so it's quite hard for me to remember why I didn't like it, but my review says, unfortunately I had to DNF this book. It started off really well and I was really enjoying it, but after a while I got lost in what the world is really about and really wasn't liking or understanding where the storyline was going, because I knew that Laini Taylor has a very descriptive and very not fluffy, but very magical, and I forget any other word I can use to describe her writing style, but she has a very extravagant and very beautifully written writing style, and at first I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. I'm never saying that I'm not going to read a book by her again because of her writing style, because maybe a different book like Strange to the Dreamer or something like that I will actually enjoy that and be able to read that, but I think the writing style really kind of just separated me from the storyline, which meant I really didn't understand what was going on, which meant I didn't care for the characters and was just confused, and that I don't want to be confused while I'm trying to read a book. The romance in the book I found to be too insta-lovey, and it really didn't settle well with me, and I found it to be rushed. I don't really remember much about the romance, but I do remember it being a bit insta-loving. Now I'm kind of looking back on it, I do remember it being rushed. I'm not an insta-lovey person, I'm a very much more of a slow burn romance person. At first I really enjoyed the writing, but I think that it is eventually what got me all lost and made me lose interest because I couldn't follow along that well. So I didn't enjoy it, and I really wanted to because I heard really good stuff about the series and about Laini Taylor's writing, and maybe I will still like Laini Taylor's writing if I try like Strange to the Dreamer or something. It didn't work for me, and I liked the setting because it was set in like Prague and it was really kind of atmospheric. I didn't like it, and I'm sorry. Next book on this list is Some Kind of Wonderful by Giovanna Fletcher. This is the first G, I'm just gonna call her G because I don't really call her Giovanna whenever I'm talking about her. I'm just gonna call her G. This is the first of G's books that I ever read, and I've been really wanting to read her books just because I love her, I love the Fletchers in general. If you don't know who Giovanna is, she is obviously a writer. Her husband is Tom Fletcher from McFly, and her sister-in-law is obviously Carrie Hope Fletcher. You know, the Fletchers. I love the Fletchers. Obviously I knew that her books again are women's fiction, they're chick lits, so I knew what I was getting into, but I don't think I've really read many of those books before, so I just didn't realise I don't really like those sort of books, because this book follows a woman, and I forgot her name. She is on holiday with her boyfriend, who she's been together for like ages now, for like 10 years, and she's really expecting him to propose, and then when she thinks he's going to, he actually breaks up with her. It's a mess for her. She goes back to England, and it's all about her kind of trying to get over this, and I think because the rest of the book is really just her plodding along through life trying to get over this breakup, I was like, is that it? I need something, I need more. Is she going to get into a new relationship? Is this going to happen? I can't just have a book where it's just watching her go through her life. I just knew I was going to get bored, so I had to DNF it. I think my review probably kind of says the same sort of thing. I really like the writing style of this book, as it was really easy to read, but I just found myself myself not caring for the story as I felt as if the narrative was going nowhere. This is the first book of Giovanna's I have read, so hopefully I'll enjoy her other ones more, and who knows, maybe I'll pick this up again in the future, as I didn't dislike it. Again, it's not like I didn't like the writing style or the story, it's just I felt like the book was going nowhere, and I just felt like there was no reason for me to continue reading it, because I felt like it wasn't like I was going to get to the end of the book and be like, oh my god, I'm so mad that that happened, or something like that. The next book on this list is Air of Fire, which is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I think a lot of people, and I know especially like Emma Books has spoken about this, that this book puts people in reading slumps, or can put people in reading slumps, and kind of maybe is the book that stops them from continuing the series. I enjoyed the first two books. They weren't like, oh my god, it's the best book series ever. I did enjoy them, and I got to the third one, so I was excited to continue reading this series because it's a very, very popular series. It's a big one, it's a big boy. It's not as big as obviously like Kingdom of Ash, but it's still a big book. But because we're introducing new characters and we're really batting between different perspectives, I really only cared about perspectives of the characters that we already knew, like Selena. Is it Selena? Selena. And when it came to the new character, the new female character that we were introduced to, I think because it was jarring suddenly reading from her perspective, that whenever she came up again, I wasn't engaged and didn't care because I wanted to read from the characters that we knew, their perspective. I DNF'd it, and I'm not mad about it, and I still own the book. It looks nice with the other ones. Maybe in the future I will try to get back into it, maybe when I'm a bit older. For now, I just don't feel like have the motivation or the need to, because I don't really care if I don't finish this series, because even though it's very popular, I'm not too fussed about continuing it. But at the same time, I wouldn't care if I did, and it would be fine if I did. So the last three books on this list are all classics, and I just want to put a disclaimer out there, but because all three of these classics I tried to read this year, I know and have come to the conclusion that I don't do classics. I can't read classics because it just doesn't work. One of them I just read for pleasure, and the other two I had to read for university. I'm one of those people who has to be engaged really early on, and with the writing style that classics have, I just can't engage because my mind drifts. I have a very restless mind. Even when I'm reading something really easy, my mind still drifts. So I have to be engaged really, really easily and really, really well, which again with the classics it's hard. So the first one is Pride and Prejudice. This was one I think I enjoyed the most, and I was able to understand what was being said and what was happening. The writing style bored me and I just couldn't engage. My review for it is, unfortunately I have to DNF this book, because even though I can understand the older writing, it takes a lot of effort to properly understand what's going on, and I get distracted a lot when I read, so it's hard for me to put all my attention into this book. I felt like I was having to like literally shut my brain down to read these books, and having to put so much time aside to read these books. I had to DNF it, and I'm gonna keep Pride and Prejudice because it's a classic and it's kind of nicer to have on my shelf. So maybe when I'm older and I can probably maybe deal with these writing styles more, I might try and read it again. I'm gonna kind of just put the last two books together, because in a sense the same thing happened to both of them. They are two books I had to read for university. They're really, really recent reads. Literally one of them I DNF'd like the other day, and one of them I DNF'd last week, and that is Wuthering Heights and Frankenstein. I had to read these for university. Same reasons for Pride and Prejudice. It's the writing style. Couldn't engage, couldn't do it. I'm sorry to anybody who loves these books or who loves classics, but classics are just not for me. I'm just going to read the reviews that I obviously put down for this. Excuse me while I try and load this review. Our internet's not the best. For Wuthering Heights, I said, this once again proves that I don't do classics. I have to read this for university, but honestly, I think I understand more from reading the Wikipedia page, which, yeah, that's very true. It is probably a really good book, but I struggle to get through classics, and if that makes me a bad reader, then so be it. And for Frankenstein, I said, once again, despite having to read this for university, I'm just having to DNF another classic. Call me uneducated, but my brain just can't get through the writing in most classics. I can never engage with them, and I often find my mind drifting somewhere else. Luckily, I don't think I have to write an essay on this book if I don't want to, so that's why I don't feel bad about not reading all of it. Probably read about 50 pages of Wuthering Heights and like 7 pages of Frankenstein, and I know it's bad because I have bought these and I did buy these for university, and technically I should read them because I've been told to. I will probably want to never read again if I try and read these. If you know any classics that aren't got writing styles like this, and when I say I haven't got writing styles like this, ones that are maybe more like The Haunting of Hill House, maybe from the 1950s to now sort of classics, those are the ones I could probably read. The ones that are this old, bye. So that is it for this video. That is it for all the books I have DNF'd in my life. I feel like there might be more, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you have, what your opinions are on these books, whether you liked them, whether you didn't. I would like to know, and I apologize if I have offended any of your favorite books. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. I post videos weekly, or try to, with a very busy university hectic lifestyle. I do post weekly reading vlogs. All my links are in the description below to follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Goodreads and other stuff. And other than that, I will see you all in my next video.